Hey everyone, how's it going? I was thinking about doing a stream today on YouTube, but decided that instead of doing it today, I'll stick with my original schedule for tomorrow so we can discuss the events of today more tomorrow. Maybe have some call ins as well so we can actually, get a dialogue going. But today I wanted to just talk about the interview that Phil Spencer did, what it means, and where it's going. A lot hasn't changed. I know a lot of things were said, but in the grand scheme of things, not many has changed, but the inconsistency is still there. The kind of wordsmith that Phil loves to rely on is still there, and I think this time he really put his foot in it when he mentioned Halo. Now, for a lot of people, Halo, Gears of War, Forza are the sacred trio that built Xbox. Those games are the holy grail. Whether Activision games or Bethesda games stay on the platform, I think many have resigned to the fact that they just don't care. In the end, they would like them to be exclusive. They understand why they're not exclusive. But when it comes to the Microsoft owned IP, their own studios, especially the holy grail of IPs, which is the Halo, Gears, and Forza, you can bet your bottom dollar that people are going to be a bit more sensitive when it comes to this. And they take it, when they start brandishing and saying that they haven't decided yet if the next generation Halo is going to be released on PlayStation, well, at that point, you're kind of setting yourself up for imminent failure. And this isn't me going on a full negative, because, like I said, we've kind of seen this, and I've said this multiple times in my streams, that if you're an Xbox fan, no matter what happens, you're going to get your games day and date on Game Pass. And if that is enough for you and you are happy with the outcome, you're in the right place. However, you kind of hoped that Microsoft would have at least some self-dignity, some self-respect. They would look at their audience who has been with them for multiple years, since the OG Xbox, which came out in 2001. It's 2024 now, it's been 23 years. You think there'd be some kind of, I don't know. They'd look at that audience and say, we are here because of you. At the same time, they're also here because of you. So that could be taken as a double a double negative, a double point. I get it. But it almost feels like now they've done away with my generation. My generation that cares about those single player games, those exclusives, the reason to own an Xbox. They just don't care. And what they care about now is the Robloxes, the Minecrafts, the Fortnites. They want that generation because that generation spends a lot of money. And at the end of the day, they're happy to lose 2 or 3% of us, 5%, maybe even 20%. As long as it means that that younger generation that is constantly buying those microtransactions are constantly buying them and bringing them money. It may actually be that that generation is just bringing in way more money than the 20% or even 10% of the hardcore fan base that they're willing to do away with. But one thing is for sure, after today's interview, they've clearly turned around and told everyone that is of the hardcore nature, we don't need you anymore. And ultimately, if you want to leave, you can leave. But we don't think you will, because we have Game Pass. Now, clearly this is a weird one, because you could just go to PC. And they know you can go to PC, but they don't care if you go to PC, because you're still going to buy Game Pass, and they're still going to get revenue off you. But let's go into the actual article, because there's quite a bit here that needs to be gone. Right, there's a bit here, quite a bit here. Now I'm going to start with this one over here, because I think Jason Schreier's article here, well, this is just a snippet from Jason Schreier, but I think it's important. Xbox chief Phil Spencer swung by Bloomberg HQ in New York City yesterday. He said they're planning a handheld, but it's years away. Based on what the interview actually said, that's not contextually true. So we're going to get into that. The one here is the big one. There are no red lines for which Xbox games will come to Game Pass. The business is healthier now, no more big cuts. At a time when Sony just recently announced that there will be more layoffs, more cuts, more potential studio closures happening in 2025, Microsoft decided that now was the perfect time to come out and say, hold my beer, I am going to completely take away and protect PlayStation because that is what I am here and that is why God put me on this earth to protect them. Now, going aside from that, we've got this over here that I said, handheld will not be shown at this year's Game Awards because it's years away. So what exactly was Sarah Bond referring to? I don't think it's the console, but apparently at the end of the year they were supposed to showcase something, present something. And for since February, fans have been holding on to this because they want to see what new tech is coming. And for many people, they've been holding out on the handheld because they wanted to see what this handheld would be. But unfortunately, that's not going to be a handheld. I don't see this as being the new console. So I actually have no idea. Maybe they're going to come out with some form of flux capacitor powered by 1.21 gigawatts and maybe go to the, Back to the Future. I don't know. At this point, my faith in them in actually saying anything coherent that's the truth, that's actually on point, is dwindling as each day goes by. You've got Nib over here who actually breaks down the points quite well. I'm not going to go into these because I've actually got the points that I want to read highlighted. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video, but I do hope you enjoy it. And if you are, and you are still here, do consider hitting the like button, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. But he says there are no red lines for Xbox games going to any platform. Any game can go in, and he specifically mentioned Halo. Too early to decide if next Halo will be on PlayStation. Now, this is the part that's actually going to piss people off. It's actually annoyed me. Obviously, there are those that don't care. But this is the part where, if there is no red line, just say what is going. That's it. Just say what is going. Don't pussyfoot around. Don't bellend around. Just grow some kahunas and tell your audience. But you know why they're not doing that? Because if they actually turn around and openly tell their audience that this and this and this is going day and date to another rival platform, I reckon about 25 to 30% will trade in their Xboxes the very next day. I genuinely believe that. So that's why they're not doing it, and they're staying quiet and kind of, tiptoeing about. No acquisition currently in the works. Larger acquisitions off the table for now. I don't see any large acquisitions. I know people have been kind of talking about 2K and GTA. That's not going to happen, not in your wildest dreams. After the ABK transaction, it's not going to happen. I mean, I could have told you this 6 months ago, a year ago. After the ordeal that they went through, I don't think they ever want to go through that again. And clearly they want to expand in China because, that is where big money is right now. They're looking at ways to improve the Xbox app and how it currently works on current portable systems. So instead of, focusing on the new Xbox hardware, they are now kind of... And I do agree the Windows experience is awful on these devices, so they do need to do something to get them better and working better on these portable devices. But as of right now, if you are holding out for a portable Xbox this year or next year, don't. It's probably 28 or even 2030 at this point. The Xbox Portable may come, but it is way off, and that's the key point here, may come, and we're going to get into that in the article. Xbox feels the business is healthy now. So that is a positive to take away from everything that's been said. But here is the article. They say deals that add geographic diversity, including in Asia, might be worthwhile. This is referring to acquisitions. So in terms of them looking now at future companies. They're not looking at anything big. They are looking at, smaller scale geographic advantages that they can get in the Far East, and that's going to be their main focus. We definitely want to be in the market, and when we can find teams and technology and capability that add to what we're trying to do in gaming at Microsoft, we absolutely will keep our heads up. Still, there's nothing imminent, and very large deals are probably off the table at present, as the company is spending a lot of time absorbing ABK employees. So that whole ABK transition is still ongoing, hence the deficit of that whole 1.8 billion. The whole merger restructure is still ongoing, and until that's done, it's going to cost them a lot of money. The company developed a new mobile game version of Age of Empires, which I didn't even know about, to be fair. A world-building franchise that first appeared in the 1990s by partnering with Tencent Holdings, of all companies. Microsoft and Tencent released the game globally in October. Did anyone even know about that? Let me know in the comment section below. The expectation is that we would do something in that category. This is referring to the handheld. Although the company is working on prototypes, so nothing really tangibly, concrete, and considering what it might do. So therefore, they're not actually guaranteed to step into that market. They're just looking at the possibility of entering that market. And in my opinion, based on what they're saying here, if they can get away with others doing the legwork in that department and them just putting their games on there, I think they'll be more than happy with that outcome. Spencer also asked his group to look at the market and develop its vision based on what it learns. Such a device is a few years out. So the handheld now is definitely not on the cards for the VGA Awards, and whether it actually will ever exist is 50-50. In the coming months, designers and engineers will focus on making the Xbox app work better on existing portable devices. So that's the key now. Them building that hardware, I know it's a different team, but the focus now is making those experiences better. The Xbox app right now is good rather than great, and that's the key takeaway there. Now, they did talk about, putting the gaining access to the Microsoft Store through a web store, but no one is going to do that, and they realize that, so they need to kind of find a way to get their app onto the actual devices as day one on iOS and, of course, Android. And that's going to have its own loopholes to get through, but that's what they're working on right now. I think the ball is moving in the right direction. I think the idea of open platforms where users have more choice, creators have more choice. You see the momentum, right? You just destroyed a lot of the momentum. You've got Stalker 2 coming out, you've got Indiana Jones coming out, and you release this sort of information, this sort of an interview. It's almost like they deliberately are trying to undermine and destroy the Xbox branding. I mean, that's what I'm seeing, personally. After releasing the first batch of Xbox games for Sony's Group Corps, PlayStation, and Nintendo company's Switch, Spencer is pleased with the results. Microsoft will do more of that, he said, and won't rule out any game in Microsoft's stable. I do not see sort of red lines in our portfolio that say thou must not. And in my opinion, thou must not means no Halo, no Gears, and no Forza. But that's not the case here. He said it's too early to make any sort of decision on the next version of Halo. So nothing is sacred. And in my opinion, Halo is going to go, Gears is going to go, and I would actually prefer it if he came out and said, yes, Halo is going day and date, or Halo is going to go 1 year after. It's going to be a timed exclusive. At least then people can make an informed decision. What this is doing right now is crippling the ability to buy their next console. Their consoles aren't selling anyway, and for anyone saying they're not into the consoles, then why release another one? Clearly, they still want to appeal to a market within the console. And at this point, I don't even know if they're actually going to build a traditional console. I've always said that the next console they release is going to be some kind of hybrid with Steam and Epic and a kind of Windows operating system in the background that does all the funky stuff that Windows do, while you just get to click on the icons and run what you want. I think that is the direction that they're going to go with that. But what's the big one here is I feel pretty good about where the industry is going. To reach new players, we need to be creative and adaptive of new business models. So clearly they're looking at cloud, they're looking at more ways to reach people through the cloud because that is going to be their biggest widespread. Obviously they're trying to expand more onto PC as much as they can. I mean, they're day and date on PC anyway, but they're looking wherever there's a store or a cloud store, they want it. So it wouldn't surprise me if Amazon Luna was their next bet, for example. But with the release of the Fire Stick, I'm sure we're going to get it on, Google's Chromecast with Android TV, and among other, set-top boxes that will allow the installation of apps. So that is their main focus of getting Xbox games pushed everywhere. What Phil is essentially saying here is, as far as the console is concerned, those of you that want to be on the console, we will always cater for you. Just like we will cater for those on the cloud. Just like we will cater for those on PC. Just like we will cater for those on PlayStation, on Nintendo Switch. But nothing is sacred. We are third party now. Our games, maybe not day and date, but everything will go at some point. And you need to be comfortable with that if you want to stick with their ecosystem. He says new devices and new ways of access, and they're constantly looking for new ways of access to increase their MAUs. We're not going to grow the market with $1,000 consoles. And there was a lot of people telling me that that wasn't going to be the case, and now he's already talking about $1,000 consoles. And I think Risk It here says the same thing. I warned everyone with the launch of the PlayStation Pro, we're very likely to see the next Xbox at 800 to 1,000, and that's exactly what I was saying. That was my biggest worry about it. But Phil Spencer pretty much concerns that $1,000, consoles, that's what we're looking at, going into the next generation, and that's gonna price out a lot of people and push them onto, gaming on TV and the cloud. And I guess that's where Microsoft wants to go. Eventually, Microsoft is going to just make their console an app, and that's it. It's going to be an app that runs on your hybrid Windows console or your tablet or your phone or anything else. It's a bit of a shame with the way it's gone. I think this article that they released is pretty awful, and if you're looking at this at a time where they could potentially rebound with some goodwill, they announced that the Warcraft Remaster Battle Chest announcement, Warcraft Remastered, Warcraft 2, nothing for Xbox, all for PC. They even just released a really amazing Game Pass ad, one of the best ones I've seen in a long, long time, but for PC Game Pass, not for Xbox Game Pass, because Xbox Game Pass just doesn't exist in their world anymore. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? Because at the end of the day, the way you've got to see it is if you are a console user, if you're a console player, you are going to get your games day and date. If they decide to go and buy Sega or Capcom or Square Enix, those games will 100% be multiplayer without a shadow of doubt. They are going to go to PlayStation, they're going to go to Switch, they're going to go to PC, they're going to go to Stadia, to Ouya, to the Etch-a-Sketch. They're going to go everywhere they can send it to. But it will be day one on Game Pass. And if you're happy with that direction that they're going, and you care about your wallet and not where people are playing their games, then Xbox is still a good place for you. At the end of the day, not everyone wants to spend $1,500 to $2,000 on a PC. I know people are saying you can build PCs for $700. You can, right? I'm not saying you can't. You get it on a good sale, you can get a pretty decent one. It's not a good one, but it's a decent one. But you're looking, $1,200-$1,400 if you want a good gaming rig that's gonna, run above 720p or 1080p. That said, though, like I said, it's not all doom and gloom. But I think this interview that they put out, the fact that he didn't go all the way and he turned around and said, "We haven't decided about Halo appearing on PlayStation yet," means that there is nothing sacred. And the fact that he's now made that decision, made that statement, I should say, why would anyone that's on the fence about jumping onto Xbox go to Xbox? Why would they buy an Xbox? Why not just, build a PC or buy a PlayStation? If it's going to go to PlayStation, you've got all the PlayStation exclusives there, and I know a number of you don't like PlayStation exclusives. That really doesn't come into the equation here. They money hack games all the time, and they get their exclusives, and now they're getting Xbox, first-party games. At the end of the day, they are losing their proposition in order to appeal to the generation. But as I said at the start of the video, people like me are no longer their audience. People like me are no longer who they care for or cater for, or who they want to cater for. What they want to cater for are my kids who play Roblox, who, buy their Robux, to the Fortnite generation, who spend a ton of money on skins, to the Call of Duty generation, to the Apex Legend generation, to the Warzone generation, to the Minecraft generation. This is the audience that they want, because 7 out of the 10 most played games out there are multiplat, and a lot of them are owned by Microsoft, or all of them almost are on the Xbox platform, and they are the ones making the money. And at the end of the day, they're a business, and the buck stops there. Satya hates exclusives. He's made that perfectly clear, and he's happy to tarnish the Xbox brand any way it can. You've seen the pictures of Phil Spencer. The guy looks like he's about to fall apart, throw in the towel. I don't know. I'm personally a little disappointed. I mean, if he didn't mention Halo after everything he said, and just said, certain games are going to be sacred, they are going to be exclusive on the platform, I think at that point it would be okay. But turning around and saying that everything is on the table, nothing is sacred, even the next gen Halo could appear on PlayStation. I mean, he didn't say day and date, but he didn't not say day and date. To me, that's going to be a massive deal breaker for so many people. And at this point, I think either Phil should stop doing interviews, or if he insists on doing interviews, I think they should just replace him. There you go, Rabbi. I've said it. If he's going to insist on doing interviews, I think they should just replace him. Because at this point, I know his hands are potentially tied, but the responses that he's giving are doing more damage than good. He did not have to mention Halo. That is going to overshadow everything this fall. You'll see it on social media. I'm seeing it on Facebook. I'm seeing it on X. I'm seeing it all over the place. No one is talking about Stalker 2. No one is talking about Indiana Jones. All everyone is talking about now is the plethora of Xbox games going to other platforms. And that is primarily the fault of Phil Spencer. Because the guy just simply, despite being a wordsmith in many ways, cannot give an interview without sticking his foot into it. And at this point, one has to assume he's either deliberately doing it or is a sadist and loves doing it. Either way, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I did say this was going to be a long video. We can discuss this more tomorrow, where we'll be doing call-ins. Today I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy XIV over at twitch.tv/ChaosLounge streaming. So if you want to come and hang out there and we can chat, by all means, come on over. But for me, that's it for this video. If you've enjoyed it and you've made it this far, leave a comment below saying I made it to the end. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out and remain legend.